Hi, everybody. Thanks for turning up. I know it's quite late over there in the evening. It's about 6 o'clock here. So thanks for giving up a bit of your time on a Friday evening. My name's Sam, and I'm an international recruitment regional manager at the University of York. So I work on campus. Into an IEFT fair and you've come to the York stand. You may have met me before. I used to work at Nottingham Trent University as well, so if you've been, you may have seen me at that stand. But no, I work for York now, and I'm going to do a presentation to tell you a bit about some of our free online courses that we have. Perfect for lockdown time, and good to give you a bit of a taster about the academic style of the university and the types of courses that we offer as well. I'm also going to give you a COVID-19 update, so tell you a bit about where we're at, and also about our scholarships too. So I know that scholarships are really vital for you guys right now, especially with the currency issues, and also because of COVID-19. So hopefully I'll give you a bit of insight into that and a few tips on how you can write a good application so you can receive a good scholarship. I'll give you a brief overview of the university and the courses as well, but I won't go into too much detail on that because a lot of the information you can find out online easily enough. Okay, so I'm going to share a presentation with you guys. Fingers crossed this works, and I shall begin. Feel free to add your questions in the chat box as we go along. And then what I'll do is when I finish the presentation, I'll try and go through them all to answer any questions that you've got. And I don't mind recapping any information that I've gone over already. Okay, so let's have a look. Let me get this right. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen now. So here we go. I'll begin the presentation. Right. Let's talk about COVID-19, the elephant in the room, as we say in the UK. So obviously it's a fast changing situation. Currently in the UK, we're at a stage where hopefully we've passed the peak and we can now begin to recover from COVID-19. Obviously, social distancing is still in place and the government's under a lot of pressure now to begin planning to ease those social distancing measures. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a bit about the start dates and a few things that the university has done in order to ease these circumstances for you a bit. Currently, we are still working towards a September start date. So if there's any offer holders listening, you may already know this because we have sent an email out today to all offer holders to reassure you that the University Executive Board is planning on starting all courses as usual in September with the potential for some online delivery. Okay. Obviously, that depends on the government's decisions at that time, and we can't predict that, unfortunately, any more than you can. So what we're thinking is that if social distancing is still in place, or if you can't get out of Turkey because the borders are closed, then you can still begin your course. And we're already teaching courses online. It's working well. The feedback from the students is good. So we're fairly confident that this won't have a negative impact on your educational experience with us. And I want to stress that it will be temporary. Any online teaching is temporary. Okay. So a few things that we're offering to try and make this a bit easier. English language pre-sessional courses are all being taught online. So if you're going to make an application, you can do the pre-sessional English from home. Of course, you will need to meet our entry requirement for those pre-sessional courses. And one of the challenges at the moment is that the IELTS offices are closed and all other English language test centres are closed. So if you already have an IELTS certificate or equivalent, that might be a TOEFL or various others, we have relaxed our entry requirement for both the courses and the pre-sessional courses by 0.5 IELTS or equivalent. If you have not taken a test yet, we are accepting the TOEFL IBT as an online test which you can take from home to meet our entry requirements. We are looking into Duolingo and we're looking into the IELTS indicator test as well, but currently those are under review and we're not accepting them yet, but we hope to be within the next week. So watch that space as well. We've also extended our scholarship deadline to the 30th of May. So originally it was up to the 30th of April. You can now apply for a scholarship up to the 30th of May, but you do need to hold an offer for the course in order to do that. So if you're thinking of applying, I would do so very quickly. If you're postgraduate taught, you can apply direct to us and as many other universities as you want anyway. It won't cost you anything to make an application. And if it's getting close to the scholarship deadline, you can always get in contact with me and say, look, I haven't got my offer yet, but I really need a scholarship. And I'll get in touch with admissions and try and speed that up for you. Okay. If you want to learn about the COVID-19 updates, you can just go to the homepage of our website, go to the top of the screen and click the link, which is very, very clear on a banner, and find out all about how COVID will affect you as an offer holder or as a new applicant or as a current student as well. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a bit about the city and a bit about the university to start off with. York, if you don't know, is located in the north of England. Okay. And it's about 2 hours away from London on the train. It's close to Leeds, so it's about 20 minutes away from Leeds, which is the closest big industrial city. York is a fairly small city, and it's built on tourism and its history and culture, whereas Leeds, Manchester, Birmingham, they're all big industrial cities. So they've got a very different feel about them. The closest major airport is Manchester, and we've got a train that goes straight from York into Manchester Airport. But also you can fly from Leeds. It's just that they don't have as many flights. They don't have as good a selection. So a bit about York then. So York is a really beautiful city and it's built on its history and culture. So it predates the Vikings and it's really famous for its Viking invasion. If you go through York, you'll see that all the buildings are historic. They're protected. Okay, they're heritage. This is what York looks like today. This is York Minster, a view from above. York Minster is one of the major attractions too, but so is walking along the city wall. So if you've seen stuff like Game of Thrones and things, you'll be familiar with walled cities. This wall, back in the medieval days, would have protected the city from invaders. And you can walk all around the circumference of the city on this wall. And at certain points, you get to these gates here, which is where once upon a time, they would have had the drawbridges to let you in. Now it's more of a tourist attraction. Once you get into the city itself, you'll see that we've got some of the oldest streets in Europe. So it's a very, very beautiful, quaint place to be. Now all of these old streets have been turned into independent cafes, bars and restaurants. So it's really a city with a lot of character of its own, very different and distinguishable from other major cities. And that's why I like it. Things to do, we've got York races, which happen on most weekends throughout the summer. And we have big music festivals here too. It runs through the city at the centre and lots of bridges. And lining those rivers are more bars and pubs and restaurants. There's lots and lots of pubs in York. There's more pubs in York than you could go to every day of the year. And you can hire these boats out with your friends. It's not too expensive if you want to do something for a weekend. And here's a few reasons why people might want to live in York. So it's been voted the best place to live a number of times by the Times, who do the education rankings as well. And that's based on things like lowest crime rates out of all cities in England and Wales, but also just the general quality of life there. It's a nice affluent city. It's very clean and well kept. You will feel safe, and that's nice if you're unfamiliar with a place. The rent prices are more affordable than big cities like London, Birmingham and Manchester in their city centre. But I wouldn't say it's a cheap city because it's a very nice place to live. Obviously, that pushes the rent prices up a bit, but it is much more affordable than those other cities that I've just mentioned. And there's different living circumstances you can apply for depending on your budget as well. It's a really creative place to be. So as you're walking around, you'll hear lots of live music and you'll see street performers and artists and things like that. And it's generally a really friendly, warm and welcoming environment. So here's a bit about the university. So we're a young university founded in 1963. And the reason that matters, what kind of effect it has on the university, is that we have a more modern approach to teaching than a lot of the older universities who are very traditional in their academic style of teaching. So we tend to teach with a lot of problem-based learning built into the courses, a lot of real case scenarios. So you can imagine if you're studying law, for example, rather than just giving you lectures, feeding you information and asking you to spit that back out on an exam paper, we give you real cases to work on as if you're part of a law firm. And that's a very unique approach for law. And that goes through a lot of our other courses too. Obviously, we've got a lot of world-leading research which feeds through to our undergraduate and postgraduate talk courses too. So that's why it matters. It's a campus-based university. And what's nice is that the campus is just on the edge of the city centre. You can walk from the campus into the city centre. Lots of people have bicycles in York. Not many people really need cars to get about in the city centre. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, because you want that student village feel and the 24-hour security that comes with it, but you also don't want to feel cut off. And there are some universities where their campus is quite far away from anything, so it's a bit of a compromise. We're a medium-sized university. We've got about 18,000 students on campus. About 25% of those are international students. So it's quite an international community that we've got from over 160 different countries around the world. And we joined the Russell Group in 2012. If you don't know what the Russell Group is, I suggest that you research it, because for certain courses, well, for certain industries, any technical industry, for example, or politics or law, it really does matter what type of university that you go to. The name that you have on your certificate holds a lot of weight to it if it's a Russell Group university. So look into that. And also, Russell Group universities tend to be higher ranked. So within the overall rankings, we're about 20th in the Good University Guide, in the Guardian University Guide, and about 22nd in the Times University Guide. But what you really need to focus on much more is your department ranking. So whichever course you're choosing to study, if you want to study molecular medicine, it belongs to the biology department. Look up their ranking, because we've got a lot of departments which are in the top 10, and anything top 20 is excellent. Okay, so you can be sure that you're going to get the best quality education at York. What you really need to look into as well is the TEF awards. So these TEF, it stands for Teaching Excellence Framework, and it's the most trusted measure of top quality teaching that we have in the UK. Not all Russell Group universities have the TEF Gold, and that's because they get highly ranked based on the research that they do, but maybe their teaching quality isn't quite on par with ours. And then you get a lot of lower ranked universities that do have TEF Gold as well, because they don't have so much research behind them, but they are excellent at teaching. So use that as an indicator for teaching quality. Another top tip as well, if you are rankings focused, and that does matter to you, and it will do if you're a sponsored student, for example, pick a ranking system that assesses universities on qualities that are important to you and stick to that ranking system. If you've ever been to a university fair, sometimes you get people coming around and asking, oh, what are you ranked? What are you ranked? But that's really not the right approach. What you need to do is ask specifically, what are you ranked for biology in the Guardian rankings? Because then you're going to get an equal measure of all the universities against each other. Otherwise, we will just give you our best ranking because it sounds great. Okay, so bear that in mind when you're doing your research. So the way in which you'd find a course to see if it's available to you and to research the modules within it is you go to the homepage on the website. You can see the coronavirus link right at the top there. But down on the right-hand side, towards the middle of the page, you can see a dark blue box, which is search for a course. You pop your keyword in there. So if I was wanting to study economics, I'd type economics in there. I'd click undergraduate, postgraduate, or research, and then it will bring up a list of economics-related courses. And then you would click on each one, have a look at the module content, the career prospects from it, and all those types of things, because many courses in the UK will be called, a master's in economics, but there's a lot of different character within that. So the name doesn't tell you much, really. What you need to look at is the modules within it. Okay. So that's how you would look and research the courses. But what I want to focus on now a bit is some of our online courses. Free, They're starting now and they're flexible in start dates. And you can get a sense of our academic style at the university. And you've probably got time on your hands to do this because of lockdown. So it's a really good opportunity to do so. So MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Courses. It's completely free. You don't have to pay a single penny. And there's about 14 courses to choose from. And these cover engineering, psychology, biology, and various other subject areas. In order to find that, you search MOOC on the university website. So I can show you how I would do it. Let's have a look. I would go to the university website. I would search in this search bar here. I'd go MOOC. Then the top link there will take you to the main MOOC page. Okay, so you can see here some free online courses. So I'm interested in engineering, so I'll click on this one. It'll give you a brief overview. You can watch a bit of a video on it too. But to find out more details, you actually have to click sign up now. I mean, it should probably say find out more. But then you can look at the course content, how long it lasts. Most of them last 3 to 4 weeks. You can look at the start dates, the requirements. There actually aren't any entry requirements at all, so you don't need to worry about that. You can see here that there's courses available to join now, and then they'll be available again in the summer. So that's all the helpful information you'll need to know. Now, as we get to the bottom here, to actually join the course, you have to select one of these options. You can see that some of them do charge. The difference between the free one and the ones that charge is that, well, it's all outlined here for you. You can get a certificate for the ones that you pay for. And if you pay for the unlimited version, you can online free course and get a certificate for those too. But I think it's best just to focus on the simplest way, which is to do this free course, to get a taster of the sessions and join for free that way. Okay. If the start date has already passed, it does not matter. You can join anytime during the course, and the course will be available for you to access up to 14 days after the course has finished. So you should be able to see now. Okay, here we go. Okay, so it is designed by our academics. So these aren't online courses that we bought and just made available on the website. They're actually designed by our academics. And they offer interaction between international students from all across the world. I think we've had over 80,000 people enroll on these courses so far up to this year. So they are interactive, and they also include videos, quizzes, case studies, various other teaching elements as well. As I mentioned, they last 3 to 4 weeks. And if you don't have the time to do that now because you're focusing on other things, like I said, you can start those next summer. So that's a bit about the free online courses, which I hope you look into. Now let's talk about the scholarships. So I don't know whether we've got any offer holders listening, but if you don't hold an offer, get your application in quick for the course so that you can apply for these. So we've got international scholarships available to students from all over the world. But in particular, I'm concerned with looking after those for students from Turkey. And you can apply for an undergraduate scholarship of up to £15,000, in which case what we would do is we would deduct £5,000 off each year of study. So if you studied law and it costed you about £17,000 to £18,000, that would then cost you £12,000 to £13,000 each year. It does on to each year in order to benefit from that full alignments to that in terms of grades that you need to achieve or anything. You just need to progress onto each year. It's a bit different for the postgraduate taught scholarships. So we can give you up to £10,000, which would bring a classroom-based course down to UK fees. So you would not be paying international fees with that scholarship. And that's why, obviously, it's a popular choice. You can apply for the scholarship online. So what you do is you go to the York website, you can type scholarships in like I did for the MOOC courses, and it will bring you up with the top link for scholarships. It will tell you there all about the scholarship details, which I'm giving you now, and there'll be a click to apply button. When you click to apply, you'll see the application form. It's about 5 questions. Each one has got a word limit. I would recommend typing the answers out on a Word document and then copying and pasting them into that. When you submit the form, it comes straight through to our international office. And I must stress that is the 30th of May. After that, we start assessing the scholarship applications. And I will assess all of the applications coming from Turkey. So it'll probably take about 2 weeks for us to assess them all. By the end of May, by the end of June, we will then start contacting you with offers. So we might contact you and say, congratulations, you've received a £10,000 scholarship for your postgraduate course. We'll then ask you, would you like to accept it? Because at York, we don't ask for a deposit. There's no payments made from you at all up until enrolment time, apart from your accommodation, of course. So we then give you 2 weeks to make us your firm choice and confirm that you do want to accept the scholarship from us. Because if you don't, then we will offer the scholarship to somebody else. And so that's why you need to confirm. Okay, there's over 100 scholarships that we award in total, and our international office is trying hard to get a bigger budget from the university on the basis that this year in particular students need more financial help than before. So we don't know if we're going to be awarded a bigger budget, but currently we're looking at awarding over 100 scholarships. So what you can do is, if you want to complete a scholarship application form, you can actually book a one-to-one consultation with me. So what we would do is we'd have a chat over Zoom, and I would take you through the application form myself and would talk about each question. And through that, we could identify some key points that you should include about yourself on the application form. This does help to improve your chances of receiving a scholarship. So if you are going to apply for one, you really should take that up. I doubt very much that you would get that level of support from any other university. I know from speaking with colleagues. So this is a really good chance for you to get a high award. A lot of other universities do offer scholarships, but they tend to be smaller amounts. Some of them are even automatic scholarships. So they're not really awarded based on anything. They're just a discount that you would get without even doing anything. But they tend to be a lot smaller, £1,000 or £2,000, not £10,000 to £15,000. So I would recommend contacting me, and you've got my email address here, but I'll post it in the chat function as well, just to book a half-an-hour session for us to go through that. Other students that have done it so far have found it really beneficial. And remember, they are your competition. So if they've done it and you haven't, they've kind of got an advantage on you, and they don't really need to. Okay. So that's how that works. Actually, I'll give you a few tips now whilst we're online, because we've got plenty of time to do it. So the 5 questions, they're kind of like a personal statement, similar to what you might include on your actual university application form. But what you shouldn't do is copy and paste information from your application form. Include some points if you think they're relevant to the question being asked, but try and reword them so they're more appropriate for the scholarship. Okay. What we're looking for through our assessment is both academic excellence, but also extracurricular activity or really good work experience. And those activities and experience, they don't have to be related to the course that you're applying for. So, for example, if you're an undergraduate student, if you're applying to be an undergraduate student, should I say, and you've entered competitions at school and things like that and won prizes, that's the type of stuff we're interested to hear about. If you're a postgraduate student and maybe you left school and university a few years ago, obviously that type of experience might not be as relevant now. So you might want to talk about your work experience and things. Any volunteering, community projects, NGOs, anything like that that makes you sound interesting and active, that's the kind of stuff we want to know. This year, I've been told, we are going to place more emphasis on that extracurricular activity rather than more emphasis on the grades. Okay. And that's because you could have achieved grades quite a long time ago, and since then done a lot of personal development and a lot of great things that really should score you high points on the application form. So it really does matter. What we'll do is we'll look at your grades that you've got and we'll score you some points for that. Then I will read your application form and I will add points to that based on the details that you've given me. So what you need to do is you need to make sure that you're answering the questions that we're asking. Don't digress. Provide detail So that, remember, we only know what you tell us, but try and be concise at the same time, because we've got hundreds of applications to assess. The best thing you can do is provide information that's short and snappy and exciting so that you stand out from the... Okay, that's the type of thing that we're looking for. So let's move over and have a look to see if we've got any questions from you guys. I need to stop my screen sharing first of all, bear with me. Hi guys, so can someone make a comment just to confirm that you can see me now and not what's on my screen? If you could just confirm that, that'd be really helpful. Thank you, Ali. Perfect. Okay, so let's have a look at the questions column. Okay, so nobody's asked any questions yet. That's fine. Can anybody think of any questions that you might like to know now? Whether that be about the COVID situation, the campus, accommodation, living costs, all those types of things. If not, I'll just go into a few of the key points that people usually ask about. Okay, Ali came for the free online courses. Excellent. Are any of you... Oh, here we go. How can we access them? So you just access them through the web page, like I showed you. So those steps that I went through there would be exactly what you need to do. It's actually quite a quick process if you want to sign up. Is it possible to get waived from the English proficiency test by our SAT score? Okay, if you are looking for an English language waiver, which we are offering at the moment, you need to have studied fully in English. So if you've gone to an English speaking school or university and all of the teaching has been in English and all of the tests have also been in English, then yes, we can waive the English language requirement. You won't need to take an English language test. But what we will need is a letter from your school or from your university, signed on headed paper, confirming that the course was fully taught and assessed in English. Without that, we can't waive the English language requirement. If you're an offer holder, what you can do is log into your student portal and you can upload that letter. Our admissions team will get an automatic notification about it, and then they'll waive the English language for you. Any other questions about that? So are any of you actually thinking of applying to York for the September start date? If you are, do you want to just post that in the questions to confirm? About the fees and tuition. Okay, yeah, of course. So if you're studying, there's two sets of fees, first of all. If you're studying a classroom-based course, and examples of that would be law, sociology, history, anything classroom-based, you're looking at £17,000 to £18,000 without a scholarship. And you can pay that in 3 installments. So you don't actually have to make your first payment until after you've enrolled at the end of October, when you'll pay 50% of that total amount. Then at the end of January, you can pay a further 25%. And then finally, at the end of April, you can pay a final 25%. Okay. If you're studying a lab-based course, then it's going to cost a little bit more. And the reason is for us to upkeep the facilities, and we have world-leading facilities that some of you may not even get to use again, even when you move into your profession. So it goes from about 18 up to about 21 or 22, depending on the course. So you are looking at a bit more, but again, you can pay that in 3 installments. If you are studying on campus with us, you can expect the accommodation to cost you at a starting price of about £110 per week, and that's with all of your bills included. Let's say you're an undergraduate student. If you want to inquire about the total living costs for the whole year, including rent, bills, food, transport, all of those things, you could get by on about £10,000 to £11,000. If you're a postgraduate student, maybe you'd need about 12. And for researchers, would suggest 13 to 15 if you're doing a PhD. But you can also work up to 20 hours a week as well. So if you want to get a job through the university, there's lots of opportunities for you to do so. We offer jobs in our international office, and some researchers might want to do teaching assisting. You can apply for that, although that will be difficult right now. So there are various options open to you. Lots of people get jobs in the city centre as well. The maximum hours in terms of the visa allowance that you can work is 20 hours a week. If you do go over 20 hours a week, you'll breach your visa conditions and you do risk being excluded. Okay, so make sure you research those and stick to them. In terms of like pay that you're likely to get, it differs depending on your age. So it differs whether you're 18, I think 21, and then maybe 25. The minimum wage goes up. So there is a minimum wage in the UK. For me, I think I'd probably have a minimum wage of about £7.50 or something like that. So it really does help. And I had to study when I was I had to work alongside my studies when I was a student as well. I couldn't afford it without that financial help. So I worked 20 hours a week, and it is difficult. It's difficult to balance it with your studies. So it's better that you can get a scholarship so that you don't have to do that. But it is possible. Any other questions about fees or finance? Okay, so whilst I'm waiting for the questions to come through, I'll tell you about the accommodation options. So we've got a college-based system at the University of York, and that's somewhat similar to what you can expect in the States rather than the UK. So when you book accommodation, you join a college, and that's much more sociable than the traditional UK style. So you join a college, and there'll be social events right from the start, right through to the end of the year. And that's to get you mixing with all the people that live in your college rather than just the people that live on your dorm. And there's lots of different activities that they do. It also expands your social group outside of the people that you study with as well. So that's something to consider alongside the actual student societies. Our campus accommodation is available to all international students, and you are guaranteed that accommodation so long as you book it by a deadline date, which we'll tell you about once you get an offer for the course. If you're an undergraduate student, you'll be living with other undergraduates. We do have postgraduate only accommodation. What some postgraduates tend to do, though, is rent a room in a shared house with other postgraduate students. And there's various apps and websites that you can use to do that, such as Spare Room is a really good one. And what you'll find is that the prices for a room in a shared house tend to be from between about 350 all the way up to 500, depending on whether you want an ensuite room or how big it is. If I was looking to study in the University of York, I'd probably set myself a budget of £400 to £450 a month, and I would expect that to cover my room and my bill. Okay. What you find is that around the campus there's lots of privately owned student accommodation anyway. So most of the housing that's around the university campus has been bought up by landlords who rent out to students. So it's really convenient in terms of distance and also still living in a studenty area. So I'll just wait for any other questions to come through now. I know I've asked a lot, but I have one more. Can you give me some information about physics and biology? Okay, yep, I certainly can. In terms of biology, the reason that it's one of our top ranked and most popular courses is because the teaching that we do is fed through from our research. So an undergraduate student will actually get the opportunity to do a research project alongside our PhD students. So they get to experience what it's like to be a PhD student, which is really unusual for an undergraduate course. And the discoveries that our research students make, they feed straight through into our teaching within the classroom. And so rather than just learning that this is what we know and this is the way it is, we will teach you the methods of how we discovered that, and you'll learn that sometimes alongside the PhD students. The facilities that we've got really are second to none. They're world-class facilities, and we've just invested millions of pounds into the biology department as well. So all of the facilities, the classrooms and everything are all brand new. It's a really nice working environment. Similarly with physics as well. So the physics has its own section of the campus where it's like its own little physics student village. Okay, and we actually specialize a lot in a form of nuclear physics. So if you go onto the website and you look up the research topics, you'll see, I'll just have a quick look here, bear with me 1 second. Fusion energy is the speciality for us as you progress through to postgraduate level. And fusion energy, it's really interesting to learn about. Obviously, I don't know too much about it because it's not what I studied, but what we're looking at doing is creating a renewable energy source. Basically, we need to find out how to contain that energy that we're creating, which would resemble something like a star. So it's really difficult to do that, and we'll use lasers and magnets to create that. But we have links with research institutes across the world in the US and Paris and places like that where you could actually go and do a work placement if you wanted to. So niches like that are things to look out for. We are the only UK university to offer that specialism. Okay, so there's a bit about our biology and physics courses. Do we have any offer holders online? If you are an offer holder, do you want to just make yourself known in the questions column? Okay, it looks like we probably don't have any offer holders online. Anybody looking to apply to start a course in 2021? Oh, I've got something up in the chat column. Elif is considering applying. And what are you considering applying for, Elif? Okay, I see. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to go to the course page on the website and search it how I showed you before. Each technical course does have its own specific requirements. If you're applying for something like an undergraduate in sociology, we're not going to ask you for specific entry requirements. We don't expect you to have studied that at school. But if you're going to apply for any science course or something else technical like engineering, that type of thing, any STEM course, we will want to see that you've got prior experience in that you've got strong grades, because it's really important that you are at the same level as all those others starting the course. Okay. Any other subject interests from anybody? You're welcome, Alif. Is anybody interested in a course that I've not spoken about yet? How about you guys? Oh, here we go. We've got another comment. You're welcome. How many of you are actually interested in one of the free online courses? Do you want to just make yourself known in the questions or chat section? Okay. Okay, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to find that link for you for the online courses, and I shall paste it into this comments section. And I'll also find the link for the scholarships, and I'll paste it into there so that you don't have to go through and find it yourself. Okay, let me just find that for you. Right, economics, okay. Here's the link to the online courses, guys. So click through to that, choose your subject preference, click through to sign up like I showed you before, because it shows you more details. If any of you are interested in the scholarships, bear with me one moment. Okay, here we are. I've found the link for the scholarships in case you're interested. That's the link to the scholarships there. Okay. Bigum, are you interested in undergraduate or postgraduate study? What I'll also let's see, question. Yes, there is a difference between students with an IB diploma. Let me just make sure I'm reading all of that question. Yeah, so the good news is that you can get direct entry onto our bachelor's degrees with the general Turkish high school diploma. That's not the case at all universities. So I've worked quite hard with the admissions team to make sure that we can accept the high school entry requirements. If you like, what I shall do is I shall post those entry requirements for you so you can have a look at them for yourself. So we have a country page for each country in the world on our website, and it will show you how many students we've got from your region, scholarships and funding available to you, and the entry requirements. So just as an example, undergraduate entry requirements, we'd be looking for, if you're leaving high school in Turkey within, forgive me if I say these wrong, I'm sorry, I don't speak Turkish, Anadolu Lisesi, which is the Anatolian High School Diploma, we'd be looking for an average of about 70 to 82%. We also accept the Lise Diplomacy as well. So you can apply direct with that, and you won't need a foundation. Foundations are useful if you haven't hit the academic level, but they're also expensive, and I appreciate that. If you are looking for a postgraduate course, a score of GPA 3.0 out of 4 is considered comparable to a UK 2.1, which is what we ask for most of the time. So if you've got a GPA of 3 out of 4, you'd meet the requirement for many of our postgraduate talk courses as well. Let me just get the link for this, and I shall share it with you. I'll put it in the chat section, okay? There we go. So that's a link to the country page on our website so that you can see entry requirements, scholarships, any support that's available to you, that type of thing. We do work with agents throughout Turkey as well. So any other questions before we wrap up? Finally then, I'm going to put my email address in here. Oh, what was that? You're welcome. Here's my email address, guys. If you want to follow up on anything at all, feel free to get in touch, okay? I'll answer your questions as quickly as I can, hopefully the same day. Sometimes it takes a bit longer, okay?
Thank you, Sam. It was a great presentation, and people, they asked many questions. So I hope they will get in touch with you on your personal email if they have more questions. Thank you for participating.
Yep. Thank you very much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.